He fall in love with her, unaware she's his sister/love forbidden. Christopher's hands shook as he stared at the DNA report. Birth mother, Catherine Monroe. Twins. The woman he'd been sleeping with for 3 weeks. The woman he'd just proposed to run away with was his sister. His twin sister. Separated at birth. Hidden by his father. Erased from family records. And now he'd done the unthinkable. 3 days ago, she'd whispered, "I finally found my home," in his bed. Yesterday, he'd traced that scar on her wrist and said, "You've survived so much." This morning, he'd kissed her goodbye, knowing the truth would destroy her. He had to tell Elena. But how do you tell someone the love of their life is a biological impossibility? How do you say, "We share the same blood, the same mother, the same DNA, and I've known for 5 days"? Christopher reached for his phone. Elena would be at his penthouse in an hour, expecting their usual Thursday dinner. Instead, she'd get a truth that would shatter everything. "What I feel for you is real," he told her last night. He just didn't know that real could be this wrong. The lens cap that started it all sat on his desk. Initials EH. The sister he never knew he had. The woman he could never have. Welcome back, my wonderful family and friends. If you're tuned in and ready to dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Tomorrow, I'll be bringing you another exciting story you definitely don't want to miss. Let's get started. The chandeliers in the Ritz-Carlton ballroom cast golden light across Atlanta's wealthiest elite, but Christopher Monroe moved through the crowd like a ghost. At 32, he'd mastered the art of appearing present while feeling absent. His Tom Ford tuxedo fit perfectly. His smile was practiced, but inside he felt hollow. "You're a million miles away, Chris," Warren Phillips said, appearing at his elbow. The older man had been his father's best friend and lawyer. Knew Christopher better than anyone. "Just tired," Christopher replied. "Your father used to get that same look, like he was searching for something he'd lost." Warren squeezed his shoulder. "You just need to find something worth being present for." Christopher wanted to argue, but Warren had already moved away. He scanned the ballroom. The same faces, the same conversations, the same. His breath caught. Across the room, partially hidden behind a camera, was a black woman who made everything else fade to gray. Even from this distance, something about her pulled at him like gravity. Elena Hayes had learned early to make herself invisible. Foster care taught you that how to survive on the periphery of other people's lives. At 28, she still carried that survival instinct. But tonight, behind her camera lens at the Worthington Foundation Gala, she allowed herself to really see. She moved along the ballroom's perimeter, capturing unguarded moments, the spaces between performance. Her camera found him almost by accident. He stood near the bar, tall and angular, with classical features and wealth worn like a second skin. White, probably mid-30s. But there was something in his posture, a heaviness, that made her pause. He looked lonely in a room full of people. Elena knew that feeling intimately. She lowered her camera, and his eyes found hers. The connection was immediate and inexplicable. Across 50 feet of marble floor, Elena felt something shift in her chest. His green eyes widened, like he'd been struck. Neither looked away. "What the hell is this?" Elena's heart hammered. She'd photographed thousands of faces, but this felt like recognition, like finding something she hadn't known she was searching for. A waiter passed between them, breaking the moment. When Elena looked back, he was still watching her, confusion in his expression. "Elena, we need the family portrait." Her assistant's voice crackled through her earpiece. Elena tore her gaze away, hands trembling. She didn't look back. Couldn't. Christopher's feet carried him forward, drawn by something nameless. But when he reached her spot, she was gone. "Looking for someone?" Warren asked, eyebrow raised. The photographer. Do you know who she is? Prestige Photography sent her. Why? Christopher didn't answer. On the floor near the auction table, something caught the light, a lens cap. He picked it up, turning it over. Engraved EH. He closed his fingers around it. By the time he reached the service exit, the photography team was gone. Christopher stood there with a stranger's lens cap, feeling absurd yet unwilling to let go. He had resources. He could find her. The question was whether he should. That night, in his Buckhead Estate study, Christopher couldn't stop staring at the lens cap. Finally, he picked up his phone. Marcus, contact Prestige Photography. Find out who worked the gala tonight. A woman. Initials EH. Of course, sir. What's this regarding? She left something behind. It was a half-truth. Christopher wasn't ready to examine his real reasons. The way she'd looked at him like she could see past every wall he'd built. On the wall, his mother's portrait stared down. Catherine Monroe, beautiful and unknowable. She died from complications after his birth. He'd carried that guilt his whole life. Lately, he'd been having dreams. Fragmented images of a woman's voice singing, of small hands reaching, of feeling less alone. Staring at the lens cap, he wondered if he was searching for something he'd lost before he could remember losing it. What do you think drives people to seek connection with strangers? Have you ever felt an instant, unexplainable bond with someone? Elena was editing photos in Java House when he walked in. She looked up from her laptop and froze. Him. The man from the gala. In jeans and a white button-down. He looked less untouchable but somehow more devastating. Their eyes met, and that same electric current from 3 days ago shot through her. He approached her table, holding something small in his hand. You left this, Christopher said, his voice deeper than she'd imagined. He placed her lens cap on the table between them. Elena stared at it, then at him. You tracked me down to return a $15 lens cap? It seemed important. He gestured to the empty chair. May I? She should say no. Every instinct screamed warning. But Elena heard herself say, Sure. He sat, and the air between them felt charged. Up close, she could see the fatigue around his eyes, the tension in his jaw. He was beautiful in that carved, expensive way, but there was something broken underneath. I'm Christopher, he said, extending his hand. Elena. His palm was warm against hers. The handshake lasted a moment too long. I couldn't stop thinking about you, Christopher admitted, then looked surprised he'd said it aloud. That probably sounds insane. Elena supplied. Yeah, except I've been thinking about you too. The confession hung between them. Christopher leaned forward. Why does it feel like I know you? I don't know. Elena's throat tightened. But I felt it too. At the gala. Like recognition. Tell me about yourself, he said softly. And somehow Elena did. She told him about foster care, about never knowing her birth parents, about feeling like a ghost in her own life. I spent my whole childhood wondering who I looked like. You know? If I had my mother's eyes or my father's smile. I used to make up stories about them. Christopher's expression shifted, pain and understanding. My mother died when I was 3. Childbirth complications. I don't remember her at all. My father never talked about her. It was like she was erased. That's a different kind of abandonment, Elena said. At least you know where you came from. Doi. Christopher's laugh was bitter. Sometimes I feel like there are pieces of my life missing. Like someone cut out chapters and I'm trying to read a story that doesn't make sense. Their coffee grew cold as they talked. Hours passed like minutes. Christopher described the loneliness of wealth, the performance of high society. Elena shared her struggles, her dreams of one day opening her own gallery. "You make me feel seen," Christopher said as twilight fell outside. "I haven't felt that in maybe ever." Elena's heart clenched. "You scare me." "Why?" "Because this feels too big. Too fast. Like standing at the edge of something I can't come back from." Christopher reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. "Then let's be scared together." When he walked her to her car, the Atlanta sky was purple with dusk. Christopher traced a small scar on her wrist, a thin white line.
Kildod accident, Elena explained.
"Broken glass. 7 stitches." "You've survived so much," he whispered. Elena looked up at him. "So have you. You just hide it better." He kissed her then, soft, desperate, full of unspoken promises. Elena's world tilted. She'd been kissed before, but never like this. Never like coming home. When they finally pulled apart, Christopher pressed his forehead to hers. "Can I see you again?" "Yes," Elena breathed. "Yes." Neither of them noticed how similar their smiles were, how their eyes held the same flecks of amber, how perfectly their hands fit together. The universe was holding its breath. 2 weeks became a whirlwind. Christopher and Elena were inseparable. Midnight calls, stolen afternoons, mornings that bled into evenings. But the outside world was starting to push back. Warren cornered Christopher in his office, his expression grave. "You're moving too fast with this girl. What do you actually know about her background?" "I know everything that matters," Christopher said coldly. "Do you?" "Chris, you're a Monroe. There are people who would use someone like her to—" "Someone like her?" Christopher's voice turned dangerous. "Say what you mean, Warren." The older man's face reddened. "I didn't mean, look. I'm talking about the wealth gap, the exposure. She came from nothing. You need to be careful. Get out of my office." Warren left, but his words burrowed deep. That night, Christopher found himself Googling Elena's past, hating himself for it. Foster care records were sealed. No family information available. Nothing. "Why does that bother you?" he asked himself. "You said you knew everything that matters." But doubt, once planted, grew roots. Elena faced her own resistance from Jade over dinner. "He set up a trust fund consultation for you?" Jade's eyes widened. "Elena, that's not normal dating behavior. He wants to help. Rich white men don't help girls like us without expecting something." Jade grabbed her hand. "I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying protect yourself. You're falling too hard, too fast. What if he's different? What if he's not?" The doubt festered. When Christopher offered to pay off her student loans the next day, Elena snapped. "I don't need saving. That's not what I meant." "Isn't it?" Elena's voice shook. "You see some broken foster kid who needs rescuing? I've survived 28 years without your money, Christopher." "Elena, please. I think I should go." She left him standing in Piedmont Park, feeling sick. But pride kept her from turning back. They reconciled 2 days later, both apologizing. But the cracks had formed. Christopher noticed how Elena tensed when he paid for dinner, how she deflected questions about her past. Elena noticed Christopher's investigating eyes, the way he sometimes looked at her like she was a puzzle to solve. "Do you trust me?" Elena asked one night, wrapped in his sheets. "Yes," Christopher said, but he'd already hired a genealogist. He told himself it was to understand her better, to help her find her birth family. The lie tasted bitter. "Do you trust me?" he asked back. Elena hesitated just long enough for it to hurt. "I'm trying to." Neither of them slept well that night. The connection between them was still electric, still consuming, but now it crackled with something else. Fear. Christopher's phone buzzed the next morning. The genealogist's preliminary report was ready. His finger hovered over the email. Don't open it, something whispered. Once you know, you can't unknow. But Christopher had spent his life chasing missing pieces. He opened the email. Have you ever felt torn between trusting your heart and protecting yourself? Where's the line between love and losing yourself? The forecast hadn't predicted this. Christopher and Elena were supposed to spend a quiet weekend at his countryside estate in Marietta, a chance to reset after their fight. But by Friday evening, the Georgia sky had turned black, and rain hammered the windows like fists. Roads are flooded, Christopher said, checking his phone. Highways closed. We're stuck here until Sunday at least. Elena stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching lightning split the sky. Stuck with me. Lucky you. He crossed the room, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. Lokist man alive. She leaned into him, and some of the tension between them dissolved. With no outside world to interfere, no Warren, no Jade, no expectations, they could just be. They cooked pasta together, Elena teaching Christopher how to properly salt water. You're a billionaire who can't cook? I had chefs growing up, he admitted, laughing when the noodles boiled over. This is humbling. Good. You needed humbling. That night, they made love slowly, desperately, like they were memorizing each other. Afterward, Elena traced the lines of his face in the darkness. I've never belonged anywhere, she whispered. Until you. Christopher's chest tightened. The genealogist's unopened report sat in his study downstairs, a bomb waiting to detonate. He'd been too afraid to read past the subject line. You belong here, he said, praying it was true. With me. Always. Saturday morning, they explored the estate. Acres of land, a small lake, gardens his mother had supposedly designed before she died. Elena photographed everything, her artistic eye finding beauty in decay, in wildness reclaiming perfection. Tell me about her, Elena said, camera lowered. Your mother. Christopher stared at the overgrown roses. I don't remember her. Sometimes I think I hear her voice in dreams, singing. Maybe, but it might just be something I invented. What did your father say about her? That the past should stay buried. Christopher's jaw clenched. He destroyed most of her things after she died. Photos, journals, everything. Like he wanted to erase her. Elena touched his face gently. That must have hurt. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be. Something broke open in Christopher then. He pulled Elena close, buried his face in her neck, and let himself need her in a way he'd never allowed himself to need anyone. That night, a storm raged outside while they lay tangled together by the fireplace. Elena's head rested on Christopher's chest, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. Run away with me, Christopher said suddenly. After this weekend, let's just disappear. Travel. Forget about Atlanta, about expectations, about everything. Elena lifted her head, searching his face. You're serious. Completely. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. You have your camera. We could go anywhere. For a moment, Elena let herself imagine it. Waking up in Paris, Rome, Tokyo, with this man who made her feel whole. No past, no questions, just them. Ask me again on Monday, she whispered. Christopher smiled, kissing her forehead. That's not a no. It's not a no. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, the fire burning low. Outside, the storm battered the windows, and downstairs in Christopher's study, the genealogist's report waited in the darkness, a truth that would shatter everything. The universe had held its breath long enough. Sunday morning, the storm had passed, leaving the world scrubbed clean. Elena was still asleep upstairs when Christopher finally descended to his study. He couldn't put it off anymore. The genealogist's full report sat in his inbox like a coiled snake. He opened it. The first page was standard. Elena Hayes, born August 15, 1997, in Augusta, Georgia. Adopted through private arrangement at birth. Record sealed. But the genealogist had connections, had pulled strings Christopher didn't want to examine too closely. Page 2 made his vision blur. Birth mother, Catherine Eleanor Monroe. Christopher's hands started shaking. No, this was a mistake. His mother was Catherine Monroe, but it was a common name. It had to be. He scrolled frantically. DNA markers, hospital records, a birth certificate that had been buried in sealed files for 28 years. Catherine Monroe, age 24, gave birth to twins on August 15, 1997. Boy, Christopher James Monroe, kept. Girl, baby girl Monroe, adopted out. Renamed Elena Hayes by Adoptive Services. Twins. The word detonated in Christopher's skull. He stumbled back from the desk, bile rising in his throat. The room spun. Everything he thought he knew was disintegrating. His phone rang. The genealogist. Mr. Monroe, I tried to warn you in the subject line. How sure are you? Christopher's voice didn't sound like his own. DNA analysis is 99.97% certain. I'm so sorry. The records were deliberately obscured. Your father and his lawyer arranged a private adoption immediately after birth. There's documentation of payment to a facilitator. Christopher hung up. His legs gave out and he collapsed into his father's chair. The chair of a man who'd hidden this, who'd ripped a sister away and never said a word. Warren had known. Christopher's vision went red. He dialed with shaking fingers. Chris? Everything all right? You knew. Christopher's voice was lethal quiet. You knew I had a sister. Silence. Then Warren's heavy sigh. Your father swore me to secrecy. Tell me. Everything. Now. Warren's voice cracked. Your mother. She had an affair. Got pregnant. Your father was going to leave her. But then they discovered it was twins. He couldn't abandon his own son. But the scandal, a mixed-race affair, illegitimate children, would have destroyed the Monroe name. They made a deal. Keep you, give away the girl. Your mother agreed to save the marriage. Elena is black because the biological father was a colleague of your mother's. A black man. Your father couldn't bear to look at the girl. She was proof of the betrayal. So they erased her. Christopher thought he might vomit. My mother agreed to this? She had postpartum complications afterward. Infection, then sepsis. She died 3 weeks later. I think the guilt killed her. Christopher's entire body was shaking. I'm in love with her, Warren. I'm in love with my sister. The words hung in the air, obscene and true. Oh God, Warren breathed. The photographer. Chris, you have to tell her. Before this goes any further. Christopher hurled his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. Upstairs, Elena was waking up. Elena, who shared his blood, his DNA, his mother. Elena, who he'd kissed, touched, loved with everything he had. Elena, who could never be his. The cruelest irony. The reason they'd connected so deeply, the reason she'd felt like home, it was because they were meant to be connected. Just not like this. Never like this. Christopher pressed his hands to his face and let out a sound he didn't recognize. Grief and horror and rage at a universe that could be this cruel. He had to tell her. But the words were impossible to form. How do you destroy someone you love to save them? Christopher didn't tell her. He couldn't. Not yet. The words sat in his throat like shattered glass. Too sharp, too devastating to release. So he made a choice that would haunt him. He gave them 3 more days. 3 more days of the beautiful lie. Monday evening, they attended a gallery opening in Midtown. Elena wore a red dress that made her glow, her natural hair in elegant twists. Christopher couldn't stop touching her. Her hand, the small of her back, her shoulder, like he was trying to memorize her through his skin. "You're being extra affectionate tonight," Elena teased, leaning into him as they studied a photography exhibit. "Is that a complaint?" "Never." She turned, her brown eyes soft. "I've been thinking about what you said, about running away." Christopher's heart clenched. And I think, Elena took a breath. "I think I want to try. Not forever, maybe, but for a while. I want to see the world with you, Christopher. I want mornings in Paris and nights in Barcelona. I want to wake up next to you without worrying about bills or judgment or whether I fit into your world." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I want to just be yours." Christopher pulled her close, burying his face in her hair so she wouldn't see his expression. "You have no idea how much I want that too. But we can't. We can never." The knowledge was killing him. Tuesday they spent the day in bed. Not making love, though they did that too, but just existing together. Elena showed him her favorite photographs, the ones she'd never shared with anyone. Christopher told her stories about boarding school, about the loneliness of being a Monroe. "People see the money," he said, fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "They don't see the cost, the expectations, the performance. Until you—" I'd forgotten what it felt like to just be myself. Elena propped herself up on one elbow, studying his face. "You know what's weird? We look alike." Christopher's blood turned to ice. "What?" "Our eyes. The shape of them. And your smile, when you really smile, not that polite society thing. It's like looking in a mirror." She laughed softly. "Maybe we were meant to find each other. Kindred spirits or something." Christopher forced his voice to stay steady. "Maybe. Kindred spirits. If only." Wednesday night, Christopher made her dinner at his penthouse. Pasta again, properly salted this time. They danced in the kitchen to old Motown songs, Elena's laughter filling spaces that had been silent for years. "I never thought I'd have this," Elena said, swaying in his arms. "A family. Someone who sees me." "You'll always have me," Christopher said, the lie tasting like poison. "I promise." "Don't make promises you can't keep." "I'm not." But he was. God, he was. Later, as Elena slept beside him, Christopher allowed himself to break. Silent tears tracked down his face as he watched her breathe. She looked peaceful, happy, whole. Tomorrow he would destroy her. Tomorrow he would tell the truth and watch everything beautiful between them turn to ash. But tonight he let himself pretend. He memorized the weight of her head on his chest, the warmth of her hand over his heart, the way she murmured his name in her sleep. "I love you," he whispered to the darkness. "I love you, and I'm so sorry." Elena stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Christopher? You okay?" "I'm perfect," he lied. "Go back to sleep." She smiled, trusting him completely, and closed her eyes. Christopher held her tighter, knowing these were the last moments of peace either of them would ever have. The dawn was coming, and with it the end of everything. Thursday afternoon, Christopher's study. Papers spread across the mahogany desk like evidence at a crime scene. Elena stood in the doorway, confused. "You said you needed to talk?" "Sit down." Christopher's voice was hollow. He couldn't look at her. "You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared." He finally met her eyes, and what she saw there made her blood run cold. "I found something about your birth family." Elena's hand flew to her throat. "What? How did you?" "I hired a genealogist. Weeks ago." The confession tasted like bile. "I told myself it was to help you, but really I just I needed to know everything about you. Christopher, that's a violation of... Your mother's name was Catherine Monroe. He watched her face, watched the moment the surname registered. My mother. Our mother, Elena. The silence was deafening. Elena's laugh was sharp. Panicked. No. That's not possible. This is a mistake. Christopher slid the report across the desk. DNA analysis. Birth certificates. Hospital records. We're twins, Elena. Fraternal twins. Born August 15, 1997. My father kept me and gave you away to hide my mother's affair with your biological father. Elena's hands trembled as she picked up the papers. Her eyes scanned the words, the scientific proof, the undeniable truth. Her face went from confusion to disbelief to dawning horror. No, she whispered. No, no, no. She ran to the bathroom. Christopher heard her vomiting, heard her sobbing. He wanted to go to her but couldn't move. His own body felt foreign, contaminated. When Elena emerged, her face was streaked with tears and fury. How long have you known? 5 days. The slap came so fast Christopher didn't see it coming. His cheek burned. 5 days. Elena's voice shattered. We've been... Oh God. We've been sleeping together and you knew? I didn't know how to tell you. So you just kept fucking your sister? She was screaming now, unraveling. You let me fall deeper in love with you, knowing. I'm in love with you too, Christopher shouted back. That doesn't just stop because of biology. It has to stop. We're related, Christopher. What we did, what we've been doing. She gagged again, wrapping her arms around herself. I feel dirty. I feel violated. We didn't know. But you did know. For 5 days you knew, and you kept touching me, kept making plans with me. Her voice cracked. Was any of it real? All of it was real. Christopher's tears finally came. That's the fucking tragedy, Elena. What I feel for you is the realest thing I've ever known. And it can't exist. Why does it feel like this? Elena's anger collapsed into devastation. She sank to the floor, hugging her knees. Why does losing you feel like dying if it was never supposed to happen? Christopher knelt beside her. Not touching, the distance between them now insurmountable. Because we were supposed to love each other. Just not like this. We were supposed to grow up together. Protect each other. Know each other. They stole that from us. I hate you, Elena sobbed. I hate you for finding me. I hate you for making me feel like I finally belong somewhere. I hate you for being the one person I can't have. I hate me too. Elena stood abruptly, wiping her face. I need to leave. I can't. I can't look at you. Elena, please. Don't. Her voice was ice. Don't say my name. Don't follow me. Don't contact me. We're done. We have to be done. She walked out. The front door slammed. Christopher sat in the wreckage of his study, surrounded by papers that proved the impossible. He'd found his sister. He'd fallen in love with her. And now he'd lost her twice, once at birth, once today. Outside, Elena sat in her car and screamed until her voice gave out. The universe had finally exhaled, and everything burned. 10 days of silence. Elena moved through life like a ghost. She stayed with Jade, who asked no questions when Elena showed up with red eyes and a suitcase. Work became mechanical, point camera, press shutter, deliver photos, repeat. Everything felt muted, like the color had been drained from the world. At night, she researched. Genetic sexual attraction. The articles called it a documented phenomenon when biological relatives meet as adults. The brain recognizes the genetic similarity and interprets it as romantic attraction. It happened. It wasn't their fault. The knowledge didn't make her feel less dirty. You want to talk about it? Jade asked on day 11, finding Elena crying in the shower. I fell in love with someone I can't have. Married. Worse. Elena turned off the water, wrapped herself in a towel. He's my brother. Jade's eyes widened. What? Elena told her everything. Jade listened without judgment, then held her while she sobbed. What are you going to do? Jade asked softly. I don't know. Part of me wants to run. Change my name, leave Atlanta, pretend he never existed. But another part. Elena's voice broke. Another part wants to call him. Because he's the only person who understands what this feels like. And that's so fucked up. It's not fucked up. It's human. Christopher wasn't doing better. He'd stopped going to the office, stopped eating properly. Warren visited daily, worried. The lawyers were concerned. The board was asking questions. Christopher didn't care about any of it. He'd written Elena 12 letters, burned 11 of them. The 12th sat on his desk, sealed but unsent.
Dar Elena.
I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. But you deserve to know that what happened wasn't your fault. You spent your whole life abandoned. And I added to that by keeping the truth from you. I'm sorry. The genealogist found more information. Our mother, Catherine. She had severe postpartum depression after we were born. The guilt of giving you away destroyed her. She died from sepsis, but I think she died from a broken heart. She wanted to keep you. Our father wouldn't let her. I spent my whole life feeling like something was missing. Now I know it was you, my sister, my twin, the person I was supposed to protect. I can't make this right, but I can give you what you've always wanted, family. Not the way we thought, but family nonetheless. If you'll let me, I love you. That won't change. But I'm learning that love looks different depending on what it's allowed to be. Your brother, Christopher, he'd addressed it 3 days ago. Couldn't bring himself to mail it. What if she didn't want it? What if seeing his handwriting caused her pain? What if she'd already disappeared? Day 14. Elena stood outside Christopher's building, her phone in hand. She typed and deleted a message 17 times. Finally, she just wrote, "Can we talk?" The response came in seconds. "Yes, please." "Where?" "Piedmont Park. The bench where we used to sit. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Elena pocketed her phone, her heart hammering. She didn't know what she was going to say. Didn't know if this was healing or self-destruction. But she knew she couldn't move forward without facing him one more time. The choice was made. Now came the consequence. When something in your life breaks beyond repair, do you walk away or try to rebuild it into something new? What would you do? They sat on opposite ends of the bench, a canyon of space between them. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Piedmont Park. Families played nearby, children laughing, dogs chasing frisbees, the normal world spinning on. Elena spoke first. "I've been seeing a therapist. Specializes in situations like ours." "Me too," Christopher said quietly. "How's it going?" "Some days I want to burn the world down. Other days I just feel empty." Elena picked at her nail polish. "But I'm starting to accept that what happened wasn't our fault. We didn't know." "I knew. For 5 days, I knew." "Yeah." Elena finally looked at him. "That part I'm still angry about. You should be. It was selfish and cruel, and I'm sorry." Silence settled between them, not comfortable but not hostile either. Just heavy. "I found out more about her," Christopher said. "Our mother. Warren finally told me everything. She wanted to keep you, Elena. She fought for it. But my father, our father, he gave her an ultimatum. Keep the marriage or keep you. She chose wrong and it killed her." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I spent my whole life thinking she didn't want me. She did. She just didn't have the strength to fight hard enough." Christopher's voice cracked. I'm so sorry you went through what you did. Foster care, the uncertainty, feeling abandoned. You deserved better. We both deserved better. Elena wiped her face. We deserved to grow up together, to know each other as siblings. They stole that from us. I know. More silence. A jogger passed.
Beurre sang.
The world kept turning. I don't hate you, Elena said finally. I tried to. God, I tried. But I can't hate you for something neither of us could control. Christopher exhaled shakily. I don't know how to stop loving you the way I do. Me neither. And maybe we don't have to stop completely. Elena turned to face him fully. My therapist said something that stuck with me. She said love is a spectrum, not a fixed point. What we felt was real, it was just mislabeled. The connection was always supposed to be there. We just interpreted it wrong because we didn't have the context. So what do we do now? We grieve, Elena said simply. We grieve the relationship we can't have. And then we try to build the one we should have had all along. Christopher's eyes searched hers. You want me in your life? As your brother? Not today. Not tomorrow. But eventually, yes. Elena's voice steadied. You're the only biological family I have. I've spent 28 years wondering where I came from. I can't walk away from that answer, even if it came in the worst possible way. I'll wait, Christopher said. However long you need. I'll wait. 6 months later. The cafe was neutral territory, not where they'd had their first real conversation, not anywhere loaded with memory. Just a quiet spot in Virginia Highland where they could try again. Elena arrived first, ordering a chai latte. Her hands were steadier now. Therapy had helped. Time had helped. Distance had helped. Christopher walked in, and for the first time in months, seeing him didn't feel like a knife to the chest. It just felt complicated. Hi, he said, sitting across from her. They small-talked for a while, safe topics, surface things. Christopher had started a foundation in their mother's name, funding adoption services and mental health care for new mothers. Elena had gotten a gallery show. Her photography was finally getting recognition. I'm proud of you, Christopher said, for the gallery. You deserve it. Thank you. And the foundation is beautiful. Mom would have loved it. Mom. The word hung between them, strange and new and tentatively hopeful. I'm seeing someone, Elena said carefully. His name is Marcus. He's a teacher. It's new, but it's good. Christopher smiled, and it reached his eyes. That's great, Elena. Really. You? Therapy mostly. Warren retired. I'm learning to run the company my own way. It's healing, I think. Letting go of my father's shadow. They talked for an hour. It wasn't easy. There were still moments where old feelings flickered, where the loss felt fresh. But there was also something new growing. Curiosity about each other. Questions about childhood. Shared features they were learning to recognize. The way they both tilted their heads when thinking, the exact shade of their eyes in sunlight. Can I ask you something? Elena said as they walked out together. Anything. Do you think we'll ever be okay? Really okay? Christopher considered. I think we'll be different. We'll always carry this. But yeah, I think eventually we'll be okay. We're survivors, you and me. We've survived worse than this.
Elena nodded.
Family therapy. My therapist suggested it. If you're open. I'm open to anything that means I don't lose you again. They reached her car. Elena turned to face him, and for the first time since the truth came out, she initiated contact. A brief hug, careful but real. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For not giving up on us. On this, whatever this becomes. Christopher hugged her back, and it felt different than before. Not romantic. Not forbidden. Just right. like pieces of a puzzle finally in their proper places. "We're going to be okay," he said. "Yeah," Elena agreed, pulling back. "Eventually we will be." She drove away, and Christopher watched until her car disappeared. The grief was still there, it probably always would be. The love, too, transformed into something society could accept. They'd lost everything and found something different in the ruins. Not a fairy tale, not a romance, but family. Real, complicated, hard-won family. And maybe Christopher thought that was its own kind of love story after all. 1 year later, Thanksgiving at Christopher's estate. Elena brought Marcus. Christopher brought his girlfriend, Sarah. They were learning to do this, to be siblings in front of other people, to navigate questions about how they met, to build new memories over old pain. Over dinner, Elena laughed at one of Christopher's stories. Sarah noticed. "You two have the same laugh." "Yeah," Elena said, meeting Christopher's eyes across the table. "We do. No explanation needed. No secrets left to hide. Just a brother and sister learning to love each other the way they always should have. The way they always would." Sometimes the greatest love story isn't about who you end up with. It's about who you choose to keep in your life, no matter how hard it gets. Have you ever had to redefine what love means? Share your story below. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.